Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Adobe Fresco Pro Tip series. My name is Fabiola Lara. I'm a Chilean-American illustrator and podcaster. And today I'm going to show you how to use the text and the shape tools in Adobe Fresco. Sometimes when you're an illustrator, you do need to add text or even shapes to finish up an illustration. And I'm going to show you how you can get it done right within the app so you don't have to go anywhere else. Okay, so first up, we have the text tool here. If we go down to the iPad, you hit that T like many other programs. And then you just click, hold, and drag with your pencil, and you have text applied. Now it's going to use the last font that you used. Mine happens to be this one. But whatever your last one is, that's the one it's going to use. And then you can just hit this. It'll automatically open up the layer properties, which will have the text properties. So here in the text panel, you can hit other fonts. So you have your fonts that are part of your Creative Cloud library. You can also see the recent fonts, and you can go to more fonts. Then you can customize the size right here. If you hold and go left or right, it goes up and down in size, which is great when you're trying to get it really precise, but you don't know what that number is. You can control the spacing if you have multiple lines of text, and then also the spacing between the letters right here. And again, if you just hold it down with your pencil and go left and right, you can customize it. Plus, you can choose your caps casing, so you can do all caps, capitalized caps, play with it, and also the alignment. So that's a quick overview of the text tool. Then we have the shape tool, which is right above the text tool. And this one will let you pick different shapes to add into your design. So if you have a library of shapes, it'll show up right here. I'm going to go into this comics one to give you an example. You hit it, and then it'll show up. I'm going to zoom in so we can see a little better. It'll show up here, kind of like a ghost image. And then you'll get this menu at the bottom to fill or erase, or, and it'll fill based on the color that you have selected. So those are your options with the shape tool. Now, before we keep on going, I want to make sure that we know all the nitty-gritty details here. So that was a quick little overview, but here are the details, you guys. I'm going to erase these layers that I've made because they're all over the place. So this is an illustration I created for my podcast Draws in Spanish because I have a hotline where people can call in and leave their questions. And this is the text that I applied. So I want to show you exactly how I created that and some other options that you have here. So I'm going to hide it. And then we're going to hit this T once again, and I'm going to change the color to this brown color that I want to use. That's just because it's the one with the most contrast. And I hit on wherever you hit is where the text is going to go. So be careful with that, because if you hit somewhere, it's going to go off to the side. You're going to have to move it. But if you hit the T and then you hold and drag kind of left to right, that's where it'll apply the text. And as you move it, you can control the size of the text that's showing up. Okay, so I like it around here. I'm going to let go. And then automatically that layer properties panel pops up, which is super handy because you start to figure out all those details that you may want to adjust. So I love this because when you use it in Adobe Fresco, when you use the text tool in Adobe Fresco, you get to also browse all the fonts that you have from your Adobe library. So you hit the T. Now, I have all of these fonts that are a part of Adobe Creative Cloud fonts. There's a ton of them, right? There's so many. Everyone has their favorite fonts. That comes down to your personal preference. But I want to show you, okay, this is a font that I use regularly. So I'm going to hit that. Actually, the one I want to use for this one is called Space Mono. So I'm going to hit that one just to show you more accurately. And when you hit it, you press this keyboard button with the pencil, or with your finger sometimes, and now you're able to type. So I'm going to put my pencil down. I'm going to type here. Q, what was it? Now I can't remember okay, here we go. I remembered. I'm using all caps, but I'm actually going to turn off the caps. Okay, so now we have all in Q and A. Guys, typing is so hard when I know people are watching. Why is that the hardest thing? Okay, Q and A. Now I'm going to hit this button over here, let that go down, and now I'm back to the style properties. I want it to be all uppercase, so I just hit that double T, that uppercase T right here. That's going to make it all uppercase, even though I didn't type it in that way. Or I could choose this one, this casing. I don't remember the name of that casing, but the button's right there for you. And then I'm going to decide, actually, I like space mono, but I want it to be a different weight. So right now I have regular, italic, bold, or italic. I think I'm going to go with bold italic. Yes, I like that. Now the spacing, when I hit the spacing and I go all the way to the left, it makes it smaller, but it's like all of the letters, right? I want the spacing to change just in between the letters. So I'm going to show you how you can actually do that. So if you click on it and I just pull in the text, highlight to just that area, and I open up those properties again, I can mess with the spacing right in between that space because it's a little bit big because it's monotype. It's not really meant for this kind of stuff, but I just like how it looks. And then I'm going to also do that again to this side. And so I didn't affect the actual spacing in between the letters. And I actually think I did at some point, so I want to adjust that. Now I'm just eyeballing this, okay? So don't come after me if you're a typographer. I'm just adjusting it to what feels good. But again, if you wanted to, you could just hit it, highlight the whole thing, click the adjustment button and type in, I'm going to say 0. That's what it would be at nothing. Just to show you how adjustable this is, I wanted to do that. Okay, I'm going to put it right back to just that spacing in between. Negative, let's say negative 200 to be, I like that you can type it in because then you can, negative 200, be more precise with it. And, you know, it's good to be precise with typography. Oops. Oh my goodness, there it is. Okay. Perfect. Now, wait, not perfect. Negative 200. Okay, we got it. Nice. Now, another thing that you can do while we're working here is once you want to transform it, right? You're done making adjustments to the actual text and now you want to transform it. You can just drag it around wherever you want. I want it to be in the center. My snapping's not turning on how I want it to, but let's just pretend it is. And then you can also use this little anchor point nodule to rotate it using your pencil. Oh my gosh, so fun. But there we go. I just want to snap back to 0. Okay, some other things I want to go over. Let's say you don't like any of these fonts. You are so picky. Your taste is so specific that you don't like any of these fonts. Don't worry. You have 2 options. One, you can go look at more fonts. So here are more fonts that you can browse. And if that is not enough, you can open Creative Cloud mobile app by hitting that button, and you can explore all the other fonts that are available. As you can see, there are a ton. If I keep doing that, I'm afraid I'll lose my place. Okay. So let's see. Oh, let's pick one of these fonts to add. Let's go with this one. Okay, I like it. You can even test it out here and do some test writing to see if it's the vibe, fits the vibe. So we're going to add it. All you do is hit this +T. Now it's added. You see it went green over here. We go back. That's now installed. I'm going to pop on over back to Adobe Fresco and go find that font that I just installed. Oh, I forgot the name of it. Let me remember the name. Aziga. Let's pop on over, go to here, and let's see if it's shown up yet. Sometimes it takes a second. No, but it's right in there. So now I've switched it to this font, and you can make all those other little specific adjustments. Now I'm going to go back. Now, let's say you have your own font. Maybe you bought a custom font from a foundry and you're like, I wish that font was in my Fresco so I could use it. No sweat. You hit space mono. You go to, let me repeat this. You hit your font. Then you go to where it says your fonts. There's a little plus sign. So you hit that plus sign, hit add more, and now you are in your files. So you can add. So I'm adding a font that I have on my Dropbox, and I can now hit it, press open, and it will open right in there, and you have to verify that you have permission to use this font. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to load it and everything, or you know what? Let's just do it. Hit add. So now it says font files are being added to your Creative Cloud, and your font has been added to Creative Cloud, is now available on all apps. So now on all the different Adobe apps, including Fresco for iPad, Illustrator, any other fonts that you have on your iPad or on your desktop, now it's going to be there. So I love that because that means you can start using your own custom fonts in a more methodical way, and you don't have to keep adding them every single time or exporting PNGs or doing anything crazy. So that's another way to do it. It'll be right in here. If we go look for that font. I'm going to go look for that font that I just installed. There it is. It was that one. So now you can adjust it. Okay. What else? Let's go on to the shape tool. Okay. One more thing I want to show you about the text tool. Let's say you want to adjust it, like you want to turn every single letter a different direction. You can't do that within the layer properties, but what you can do is click that layer and say convert to pixel layer. Or you could have converted it to a vector layer, I suppose, if you want to make sure that it scales properly. And you can just use your tools, like the lasso tool, to select a specific letter and then transform it. So once you do this, it's no longer a text layer, so you can't edit it like those text properties. But I just wanted to give you that option in case you're like, oh, I want to do more with my text. So what I usually do is let me undo these things to show you what I usually do before I start making those transformations. Before I turn it into a vector, I have this text tool you can see because it has that little T on the left. I duplicate it. I just hide it so I don't press it. You can also even lock it so you don't accidentally mess with it. And then on that the duplicate version of that text, I convert that to a vector layer so it stays scalable and sharp. And then I just lasso tool the objects, the letters that I want to transform. Say I want this letter to fall off for some reason. There we go. So that's how you can start playing with the text even further once you figure out all those other properties. Okay, now moving on from text, I want to get to the shape tool. Okay, so for the shape tool, like I showed in that little quick preview there, you have a lot of different options. So if you hit the shape button right above that T, you're going to get this like ghost shape, which is really great. But what I hid the text just to make sure we have space here. So if you hit it, and it's going to show your library of shapes. So here I have a comics library, which has all these comic shapes. I have my library, which is from my Adobe Capture. And then I have this typographic library. Now, I really like this typographic library because if you're a lettering artist, this is really handy. Let me show you. So I hit that one. I'm going to hide this little cell phone that I have. Oop, boop, boop. Just to replay, I selected the shape. Now I have this ghost image of it. I'm going to expand it. There we go. We snapped it to the center, snapped it there. And now I want to say use this as a guide. So I'm going to hit fill, and I have to make sure I have another layer added. Then I'm going to hit fill, and it's going to fill it with the color that I have selected, which is the brown. And I'm going to say I want a vector fill. Okay, great. Now from here, I can then change the opacity down, let's say to 14. And now on another layer with a different brush, let's see what brush we want to pick. I'm going to go to my favorites. I'm going to say this. I think like let's go for like a ribbony brush. Let's say lettering brushes that we have in here. This gritty lettering brush. I'm going to write Adobe. This is pretty thick. I should have previewed this. Adobe Fresco tips. You can see where I'm going with this. Now, is this the best lettering example ever that you've ever seen? Probably not, but you can see how I'm using this guide perfectly to perfectly position my text. And here I'm just going to say more text. So you can use these shapes to help you write out your text. Now that is too thick of a brush, but if you saw the previous brush lesson, you can make this smaller here and start adjusting and playing with that. So that you have those built-in shapes, but you also have flourishes that you can add to make that text prettier when you need. Like I just probably could have used one of those. But let's say this ribbon text, I could put that there. Oops. I'm going to fill it on a new layer vector. And now I have this cool ribbon that I could actually use as an element, not just as a guide. So I could actually keep this one here and write, let's see if this brush, I am not very familiar with it. It's looking a little crazy. Okay, let's go for this. Let's lower the dimensions of this brush. All right, ooh, this brush is so juicy and has so much texture. So I can write call me. So you could see how you can fill this in. You know, you could add more guides to it, all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to have those shapes built right into the software. So you don't actually have to go anywhere to get those effects. Now, let's see. Let's say that you don't want any of those. Those shapes aren't relevant to what you do. No worries. Here on this bottom plus sign, you click on it, discover new shapes, and there are more shapes. So if you're not seeing the typographic shapes in your Adobe Fresco, you probably don't have them added. So hit that plus button and hit add. I want to play with this floral collection of shapes. So I'm going to hit add, adding in progress. And once it's loaded, we'll be able to play with it. Now I'm hoping it's not too big because I left it here so that I could show you exactly how you load up new shapes. Let's go. Let's see. Adding in progress. All right, maybe it's going to take a touch too long, so we won't get to that, but it works the same ways as these. You hit it. Let's say I want to add a text, this kaboom. I'm going to actually hold down the touch gesture, which you see there, to be able to transform it smaller from the center. I'm going to move it here. I'm going to put my illustration back, and then I'm going to fill it on a new layer. Cool. And I'm going to transform that. And now you have this shape that you can fully transform, and you can adjust how big you want it anywhere on the screen. And I'm going to fill it once again. You could also, instead of filling, use it to erase. So let's say that I have another layer that's let's say all brown. Now I want to use that exact shape to cut out and hit erase. And now I've erased it. That exact shape, that's why I like the shape tool. You can fill, you can erase, you can even mask with it. So it can be really, really versatile and useful in your work. Now, what about if you are just wondering, where are the basic shapes? I don't need comics or library or my typographic shapes. I just want like a square or a perfect circle. Where is that? You're looking in the wrong places, my friend. That, I'm going to unselect that. Okay, that is actually here on the bottom right where you see this ruler. So if you hit the ruler, you get a handy ruler, which I think is relevant to talk about because we're talking about shapes, and a line is a shape. So with the ruler and another layer made, you can actually use the ruler to create your own shape. So let's say you want to make a perfect square with the ruler. You can go ahead and just do that. And oops, let's redo that. The ruler, you use 2 fingers to adjust, and it'll tell you what degree it's on, so you can make sure you have it at 0 degrees. I accidentally had it at a different degree. So you can see how it's super handy to create your own custom shapes. If you want to do an exact square, now you have that square. But it's a bit of a process, but the ruler is pretty cool because if you want, you can make your own. Let's say an extra guide for yourself, or you need to just double check the spacing of something, you can use the ruler. I'm going to hide that because I think a lot of you might just want a regular shape. Now, if you hit the ruler, right, we're hitting the ruler. If you hit it with your pencil, select it and hold down, you're going to get more options. So here we have a circle. So I'm going to select circle. And now this little ghost circle shows up and you can use it like any other shape. So if you drag from any of these points, it's going to expand it. So something that I noticed, is if you pull from a corner, it stays like a perfect circle, right? Equal sides. If you pull from the sides, you're going to be extending it and turning it into an oval or turning it, into a different, not a perfect circle, right? Which there's definitely uses for. And then once you have it, you have to make a new layer and you can fill it by just selecting the paint bucket tool and hitting the inside of the circle. You can fill it. I'm going to fill it with vector and it looks gray, but that's just because the shape is on top of it. As soon as I exit it out of that shape panel, it's gone. And then this shape panel is back. So I can make, let's say I want to make a Venn diagram. I'm going to fill it with a different shape. Perfect. And then as soon as I pull out of that shape menu, that gray is gone. Now, another thing that you can do, is I'm going to hide that layer and I want it to be a perfect circle again. So there it snaps kind of back into that perfect circle shape. You can once again hold that touch tool and scale it. You can scale it from the center. I want it to be back into a perfect circle. There it is. So if you hold down that touch button, you can scale it from the center and at the corners. But if you pull from the top or bottom, it scales it on either end, which is really handy when you're trying to make like a perfect size oval of some sort. It like controls it from both ends. I hope you can understand here, visualize what I'm saying. If you double tap that touch gesture, it now does it without you having to hold it down. So that's another cool way to just speed up your workflow. Okay. Now, aside from that, we have another tool, which is the square. Works just like the circle. And you can adjust it. You can keep it perfect. Oops, I keep hitting undo to like go back to the shape, but it doesn't work that way. Okay. And again, you also have the nodule at the top that you can turn it from to turn it into any other angle that you may want. And then like any other thing, you can hit fill on a new layer. Fill, I'm going to say pixel, fill, okay. Or let's say I'm going to do another layer. Let's say you don't want to fill it, you want the outline, no problem. With the shape tool open, you can use your brush, be it any of these brushes, to draw on the outer edge. And it kind of snaps to that outer edge. So it's not like you have to try really hard. So now I'm going to get out of the shape panel. Now I have this perfect square outline that I can do anything with. I can turn, I can scale. There you have it. Now the other one that I want to show you is the last one, which is polygon here. If you hit polygon, you can actually hit this plus or minus to make it a triangle, a square, a pentagon. You're testing my shape knowledge. I didn't practice a hexagon. I don't know, one of those, whatever, more polygon signs. So you can treat it just like any of the other shapes I showed you. You can fill it, all that stuff. Once you have a new layer, keep seeing me do that. There we go. Perfect. Other shape. Now another shape tool I want to show you here last that I think is super handy and some people might not have enabled in their Adobe Fresco yet. If you hit this setting button, go to app settings, input, and then be sure to have snap to shape selected, because here's what's happening if not. Let's say I want to make a perfect triangle. I can't, right? If I hold it down, nothing happens. I have to kind of use my best triangle techniques to make the perfect triangle. But if you go to settings, app settings, and then make sure you have snap to shape toggled on, now I can just make a triangle, hold it here at the end, and boom, it snaps into the perfect triangle. So that's another way to do it. Now, again, depending on the brush that you're using, the ends are going to be kind of hard. If you're using a vector brush, it might be slightly easier, more even, but you might also want that effect. So that's just another way. And this kind of is great because, like I said, for this example here, I actually want to have, see, I made that. I want to add little stars. I'm able to add little stars just by drawing the star. I kind of want a crazy little long star, connect it, hold it, and now it's snapped to that shape. I want to make it a different color. I'm going to just do a clipping mask to make it a different color, even though I could also fill it. There's many ways to do things. Now I have this perfect little star shape that I want to put over here. And that works with any of the brushes, which is super, super, super handy. So be it a pixel brush, the live, or the vector brushes, you're going to be able to use that. I wonder if it works with the selection brush. Let's see. Not so much. Anyways, we tried it. Now you know. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned so much about the text on the shape tools. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.